Edward Johnson. Sit back and relax while we give you advice and tips on business matters and matters of the heart for busy executives. And now, Katrina and Edward. Hello, hello, hello. It is Katrina Brittingham, your business consultant, and Dr. The Real Deal Love, your love coach.
Hello.
And guess what time it is? It is the business of love, love for busy executives.
Mm,
So Dr. Love is going to take the reins, and I'm just going to be myself and just make some comments and sit here and look good.
mm,
So how
mm.
was that?
That'll work. That'll work. That'll work. Yes, indeed. That will work.
So I'm handing it over to Dr. Love.
Okay. Well, first, let me just find out how you're doing. How have you been? Where have you been? And all that good stuff.
I have been well. I went up to Philadelphia to deal with some family matters,
Hmm.
and I am back. That is why we had a rerun last week because I had to travel out of town very quickly
Hmm.
and travel back just as quickly. So I'm recuperated because I was tired, tired, tired.
Hmm. Hmm.
Jet setting is just tiresome.
It is.
So I am back and in full effect. How about you?
All is well. All is well. Like you said, busy, but busy is good. You know what I'm saying? Busy is good. So, we had a long, enjoyable summer. Summer is ending. I'm not saying it has ended. Let's gracefully bow out. It's ending, and it's time to get back down to the business of love and life and
Yeah.
happiness.
I'm sorry to tell you, summer is gone. It's October 2nd. It is officially fall.
I know. But in Philadelphia, we had 84 degrees today.
That's called
Can
Indian summer.
and guess what? We're getting another one tomorrow.
Oh, good
Isn't
for
that something?
you. Good
Yeah,
for
yeah.
you.
So we're getting the last blast, but it's great. It's great. And to our listeners, how are you tonight, listeners? I hope that you're doing well. I hope that you had a great summer. Settling into October. Ah, boy, last quarter, last
Of the
quarter of the
year
year. You know what I'm
already.
saying? So we're at the last quarter. So the great thing about it is a lot can happen in the last quarter. You can make a lot of
It can.
progress. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
In the last
yes.
quarter. So I want you to just, kind of like rethink some things, roll up your sleeves, and begin to think some things. We say it like this here: you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know all the steps that you need to make. The only thing you have to do is be willing to think differently.
Yes.
If you're willing to think differently, that's going to be the key. You know what I'm saying? We say that all the time in coaching. The key, the goal of a good coach is really to get you out of the way. How can I get you out of your way? Because oftentimes we're in our own selves way, and that's the key. Is getting ourselves
Mm-hmm.
out of the way because we're too close to really see everything that we need to see. So tonight, I'm
Yes.
excited about our talk tonight because I've been working, and we're doing a call to love on Wednesday evenings. At least one Wednesday, sometimes two Wednesdays out of the month, and it's just such a great interaction because I'm able to talk with women. I'm able to hear what women are thinking, and it's a safe place,
Mm-hmm.
because women really need a safe place because there's so much happening, there's so much going on, there's so much being said, and I'm telling you, you need to find someone that you can listen to that knows what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
This comes to mind, Miss Katrina. I don't know if you heard because you've been so busy, but you might have heard. What is his name? Oh yeah, Tyler Perry. He came
Mm-hmm.
under fire
Oh, yeah.
because you heard that.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
I have
yeah,
some thoughts about that.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? That women should accept, and I think he's specifically singled out black women. Was am I correct?
Mhm. Oh yeah. Mhm. Mhm.
That black women should settle for uh, if she's accomplished and she has done well for herself and she's successful, and she meets a man who may not be as successful as she is,
Mhm.
but he loves her, he's there for her, and if he can only pay the light bill,
Mhm.
she she should
She
be
should
okay
be
with that.
she should be happy and satisfied. I have some thoughts about that, Dr. Lewis. I have to cut you off just for a
Go ahead.
second. First of all, if you are a grown man and you are working and you can only pay the light bill, you need to consider reconsider your life choices.
Well, and that's the first thing when you when listen. I'm listening to what we're saying because my teaching is all men are kings. So when
Mhm.
you take the black man and you say that he's only able to pay the light bill, I mean, before we go any further, I mean, what man out there can only pay the light bill? That's an insult to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Miss Katrina.
Because before he's with me, you don't have a place to live. Because if you can before you were with me, you should have been paying rent, right? And all the bills.
All the bills,
You should have been
all of his own bills, right?
right, right. You should have been paying your rent and all of your bills. But then you come to me and all you can pay is the light bill? Please. I work too hard for that.
Mm,
This is something that I got in my spirit when I was very young.
mm-hmm,
And I always felt like, my mom, my grandmother, everything, for whatever their reasons were, I'm not going to go into that. That's a different program and topic altogether. Was
mm-hmm,
just like that I should always have my own. Okay. Because
mm-hmm,
you never know what might happen. My grandmother was married. My grandfather passed away, and her kids were still small. She was a housewife. Now she has to figure out how I'm going to take care of these babies. So she was like, don't put yourself in that position because you don't know where life is going to take you. And
mm-hmm,
so, it's like you get married. Yeah, you say till death and you think you're going to have this long life, but it's not necessarily going to play out in your destiny that this person is going to be there until you're 100 and all of that stuff.
mm-hmm,
So, um, you need to have your own because she was like, when this happened, she didn't know how she was going to do, and she had 7 babies. Okay. So, I feel like, okay, you come into my life. If I'm doing this without you, with you, we should be doing 2 times better. And that's
exponential.
and that's I said we. So you were doing this on your own, I was doing this on my own. When we come together, we should have something together that we
Mm-hmm,
couldn't have alone because now we have the combined finances.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So when he said just pay the light bill, this is not better. It's not a better way of life. Like, think
mm-hmm,
about it, like the light bills, um, you know, having a house, having an apartment, at the most maybe is maybe $200. That's all you can contribute to the house. That's why I say maybe you should consider your life choices because someone's either greatly underpaying you or you're not managing your finances well.
mm-hmm,
It's one of those two things.
mm-hmm.
And I'll hand it back over to Dr. Love. Sorry, that was my soapbox moment.
No, no,
I had an
that
issue.
was that was good. That was good because you know that was let's keep it in context. That was advice that he was given to women.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
understand? So it's an insult to the black man, and it's a put down that all he's capable of doing. You know what I'm saying? 20 years, 30 years, 40 years,
Mhm.
and all he can do is pay the light bill. So, you want to understand in context, this is the advice that this multimillionaire is given to our women.
Mhm.
And that's why it's so important. I say that all the time. There's so many people going to tell women what she should do and how she should do it and who she should accept and how she accepted. And then at the end of it, he alluded to the fact, well, go ahead on and have all your demands. And I get it was kind of like he mocked fun of it, and you'll be by yourself, you know. So that's the reason Dr. Love is on the scene because I'm telling you, the important thing that I'm going to be doing for this last quarter is called changing the narrative. See,
Mhm.
we've got to change the narrative
Mhm.
because we've said the same thing. The same advice is always given. You know, why does she have to compromise? Why does she have to settle for less? Why is that always the advice? Why is that always the case? When we've got men who are accomplishing great things, we've got women that are accomplishing great things. Why is it the narrative that we have two successful individuals who come together with something? It's always a deficit. You know,
Mhm.
he's always at a deficit and that
Mhm.
starts to work on the psyche of the successful black woman. Like the only thing she's going to find is someone that's not capable of doing great
Mhm.
things. Okay.
Mhm.
And that's the reason I begin the dialogue in terms of every man's a king,
Mhm.
whether he knows it or not. And what he's capable of, and here's the thing about what he's capable of, he doesn't even know all that he's
Mhm.
capable of doing.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So changing the narrative, we begin to understand no matter where he's at in his life, I can guarantee you he's only scratched the surface of what he's capable of doing.
Mhm.
Okay. So enough of this always, she's got to settle for, she's got to settle for. She doesn't have to settle for anything. The only thing she has to do is be clear on what I'm about to share tonight. And that takes me into uh, the conversation that we were having one Wednesday evening, and I started hearing some of the conversation, and we was dialoguing, and I said, I want to put together, and I'm putting together what I call the 5-step relationship blueprint. Okay, the 5-step relationship blueprint, because to my understanding, there is not a clear cut blueprint to understand step one, step two, step three, how the interaction unfolds between the man and the woman. It's really not
Mhm.
clear. Okay. So tonight we're just going to just uh, jump into what is the blueprint? The blueprint is a guide that begins to give you clear insight in terms of the steps that need to be taken in order for the relationship to go where it needs to go. Okay. Just before I got on, someone was asking me about what is it called? Finding love in a digital age.
Mhm.
What do you think about going online and going into, they call it dating apps or dating websites? Well, as you know, Dr. Love is changing the narrative. In fact, I'm going to do a little write up on that and just kind of like get it out there and ask everybody to pass it around. We really should call them, it's not a dating website. It's called an introduction site. It's just introducing men and women to each other. It's just an introduction. Okay. And if we don't begin to have the right dialogue, then we're going to miss it because that's the reason I designed the 5-step relationship blueprint because the first phase of the relationship is attraction. Okay, that's the first. That's number one, attraction. That's Dr. Love's rule. A woman always makes the first move and never the second. Okay? Always the first, never the second. The first move is to be seen. All right. Notice I didn't say get seen, I said be seen. Okay. See, to be seen is what Miss Katrina was talking about, is the things she's been doing, the school that she's graduated from, the career moves that she's developing in, the travel that she's doing. See, she she's being successful in her career, in her space, in her life. She's dominating her life. That's being, okay? She's not going off doing, she's being who she's destined to be. So when I say be seen, that doesn't cause you to go outside of yourself and do anything extra other than stay in your space and continue to do the things that you're currently doing. Because a man always notices a woman that's doing great things, always notices. Okay. Uh, if anybody knows the Bible story between Ruth and Boaz, Ruth was busy uh, in the garden gleaning when Boaz spotted her and said, "Who's that over there?"
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she wasn't she wasn't doing anything to get noticed. She was being busy with her business,
Mm-hmm.
busy with what she was focusing on, and in her busyness of being, someone, which was a wonderful man, discovered her,
Mm-hmm.
and we know he liked what he saw right from the very start.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so to be seen, not to get seen, to be seen. All right. Step two is transaction. See, I want to really be clear that when a man and woman comes together, let me qualify it by sharing this with you. Men are hardwired for interaction. Women are hardwired for relationship. So when we come out of the attraction and we go into the transaction, I mean, we're there, he and her, they're in the transaction where we're talking about exchanging numbers, exchanging where you might live, the possibility of us going out together, some of our interests. It's just merely transacting the information that needs to take place in order for us to take the next step, which is to interact. See, there's always a transaction, and then the next step is an interaction. Okay. So oftentimes we talk so lightly about the relationship. And I was sharing with him one of the angels last week. Oftentimes women are in the interaction and not the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
See, you can be in an interaction thinking you're in a relationship, but it's only an interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the interaction, when a man understands and a man knows what he is interested in, he's hardwired to interact with you, not to go into a relationship with you, but to interact with you. And that is important. That's what he's hardwired to do. Okay. The woman, on the other hand, she's hardwired for a relationship. And how does that work? She could be in the interaction trying to make it into a relationship, and that doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It doesn't work. The interaction is the only area where you begin to get to know each other, talk, interact. That what's happening. My granddaughter said to me, because it was so interesting when she was home this summer. She's back at school, but I'm back with my granddaughter. The things that I did for my daughters. She went on her first date over the summer, and I said, "Wow, here we are again." So she's like, "He's got to come over. He's got to pick me up. He's got yeah, all those things. I got to see him and all that good stuff." And we began to talk, and we were talking about the relationship. I said, "Well, first you've got to remember you attracted his attention. Now you're in the transaction, and now you're in the interaction. You two are interacting." She said, "Well, when does the relationship unfold?" Okay. The relationship begins to develop when he cares. See, you're in an interaction and you're interacting with him. And it stays in interaction until it develops in a relationship. And when it develops into a relationship, it only develops into a relationship when he cares.
Mhm.
If he doesn't care, you're in an interaction.
Mhm.
And that's the reason so many relationships are titled, I was in a toxic relationship. Remember, we're changing the narrative. But you weren't really in a toxic relationship. You was in an interaction that never developed into a relationship. So now you're calling it toxic because he never cared.
Mhm.
You see. So you'll hear it on and on again. I was in a toxic relationship. I was in a toxic relationship. Well, what is a toxic relationship? A toxic relationship is where you're trying to do something and the person that you're trying to do it with is not meeting you even halfway, not even a quarter of the way. It's just
Mhm.
kind of like it's like you're doing this all by yourself and then you call it toxic. Well, is it really toxic or is it really a transaction that we thought was a relationship or that we were trying to create it or force it into a relationship? Honey, it's not a relationship. And it doesn't develop into a relationship until he cares.
So it's a toxic interaction because it can be toxic. Um, because I do think people use buzzwords too often, but
Hmm.
sometimes things are toxic. If that man is not talking to you correctly, if he's putting his hands on you, that's toxic. And this is in marriage, this is in, I guess living together. So it can be toxic. I do get what you're saying about the interaction of,
Hmm.
having the person, if the person doesn't care, because you can always tell when someone doesn't care because it's how they treat you. It's how they, like you said, interact with you.
Hmm.
It's the interest or lack thereof that they're showing. So I think it's two different concepts. One concept is just overused as far as toxic relation because everybody's saying they're in a toxic relation when people are not necessarily be in a relationship.
Hmm.
Then they have the situationship. I live here, you live here. I see you when you want me to see you or whatever. So I think there's has to be a distinction. For the purpose of this, this is a woman who is dating. So when you're in the dating phase, then you have to decide and look and be able to be observant to know whether you're in an interaction, whether that man really cares, versus are you building towards a relationship in the dating aspect. So I just wanted to clarify that because you have some people who are in full blown marriages and it is toxic. So I think that has to be kind of a cutoff and, being clear about, okay, these are people that are dating and are trying to build towards relationships. When we talk about someone throwing around toxic relationships, I know people
Mm-hmm.
who've been with someone for a month and talking about, I'm in a toxic relationship. No, you're not. You've only been together for a
Mm-hmm.
month. um,
Right.
so, um, and I was I let you keep going, but when you were talking in the beginning and you were talking about me doing, and you talked about Ruth, um, every time someone is talking about relationships and everything like that, because you have all kinds of things, you have the red pill people, all that kind of stuff, and they're talking about a woman. The first thing a man and a woman has to know is what is a virtuous woman, because everybody's talking about what a virtuous woman is or what the definition is.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the Bible's definition. Who can find a virtuous woman? Her price is far above rubies. That's one thing. She's very valuable.
Mm-hmm.
The heart of her husband safely trusts in her, so he would have no need of spoil. She will do good and not evil. But here's the thing: she is a businesswoman.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought that over because she's a businesswoman. It says she will seek wool and flax and work willingly with her hands. That's a business person. That's somebody who creates something.
Mm-hmm.
So for when
Trade.
people are saying that a woman is in the house and she's washing dishes and all of that stuff, let's keep going.
Mm-hmm.
She is like the merchant ships. She brings food from afar. She rises up while it's yet night. Business people wake up sometimes before the sun comes up to
Mm-hmm.
start their day and give meat to her household and a portion to what? Her maidens. So,
Her
yes, the house is
handmaidens.
taken
Yes.
care of. You know who the maidens are? They're the house cleaners,
The
the
help.
housekeepers, the help.
Mm-hmm.
So, guess what? When the woman say she need help and you try to look down on her, guess what? A virtuous woman has help because she's a businesswoman, she's a wife, she's a mother.
Okay. So now let's just throw in that statement of Tyler Perry's. Now all he can do is pay the light bill. Come on. You
That's why I
you
said I
you,
had an issue with that.
you see how she roll? You see how she's rolling? Come on. All right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You see how he tried to set her up? And I say her because she ain't setting me up. You see how he tried to set her up? She considers a field and buys it. Guess what? She considers a field and she buys it. Guess who she is? She is a landowner. She has
Mm-hmm.
real estate. She considers it, which means she's very smart. And she buys it. Guess what? It didn't say her husband stops her from buying it. He trusts her judgment.
Mm-hmm.
That's a virtuous woman. And then it says, with the fruit of her hand, she plants a vineyard. So she makes it grow. She makes sure what she's working on grows. That's what a woman does in the household. She's nurturing the children. They grow. They grow up to be, hopefully, what do they call it? Productive members of society.
Productive. Productive.
She has real estate or she has a business and that's growing. She girdeth her loins with strength and strengthens her arms. Guess what? My arms gotta be strong. I gotta lift stuff. I gotta lift babies. I gotta lift bags.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I have a husband. He see me lift them bags. Hopefully, him being a good man, he'll take
Mm-hmm.
some bags or the kid something.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh, ain't no hopefully about it. He's coming. He's coming. He's coming.
Something. Um, and it says she perceives that her merchandise is good and her candle doesn't go out by night because guess what? She's still working on her craft because her hands go to the spindle. Now, it's not saying
Mm-hmm.
that because everybody don't know how to make clothes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not talking about that. We're just saying that she's working. She's
She's
working with her
productive.
hands.
Yes.
She helps the less fortunate. She not afraid of bad weather because she realized stuff still got to get done when it's raining, when it's snowing, when it's hailing outside. All right. She makes her garments, the tapestries, fine silk, and all of that good stuff. Okay. And this is what it says too. She has a good reputation
Mm-hmm.
because the people seeing was like, wait a minute, isn't that Dr. Love's wife?
Mm-hmm.
I heard she doing great things. He don't have to be ashamed. So when we're talking about this stuff about what a, because we starting with the woman, what a woman's worth is, what a woman is supposed to have, because people were talking about, oh, men don't care about a degree, because I think he said that too, because I watched pretty much a lot of that interview. He don't care
Hmm.
about your degrees and how much you make and stuff like that. Why not? Because that reflects you.
That's right.
The fact that she's good at business reflects you. The fact that she can grow something reflects you. Why? Because you gave her the freedom, being a wise, virtuous woman, to be that.
Hmm.
And that income, all of that stuff goes into the house.
All of that. All of that.
All of that goes into who you are. So give her some help
Hmm.
so she can do what she needs to do.
Absolutely.
Give her the maid servants. Give her, you had a manservant. Like, come on, like, it's nothing wrong with y'all both business people and y'all hire somebody to help clean the house, to wash the
Yes.
dishes, to cook a meal. She up before the sun come up, and when it get dark, she's still up working. Can you at least make sure that the food is taken care of? And even, maybe she like to cook. I'm busy. I like to cook. Just
Yeah.
make sure somebody do the shopping, so we got food in the house because I'm out all day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is Bible, because everybody, because the reason why I went there, Dr. Love, and I'm sorry to cut you off, is because everybody will go to the Bible. Oh, she's not doing what the Bible said. This is the Bible.
That's the Bible. That's the Bible. And see, and that's the thing about it in terms of good advice. You know what I'm saying? You got tonight. We want to make sure you know whatever Tyler Perry said. Don't listen. You know what I'm saying?
Please
You've got to
don't.
listen to somebody that knows what they're doing. Now, just like you just said that, listen at Psalms 1. Uh, Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor sitteth
Yes.
in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper.
Shall prosper. Yes.
Whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. So whatever he does, he prospers. You
Mm-hmm.
understand? So now we've got
Mm-hmm.
the virtuous woman, we got the blessed man. Whatever he
Mm-hmm.
does will prosper. So why is it that we always have this one-sided? You know what I'm saying? She's got to settle for less than. He's not able to. No, no, no. Both of you have to have your own lives together in your own respect. And when you
Mm-hmm.
come together, you understand? When you come together in the interaction, we determine whether or not we're going to develop this into a relationship.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. See that
Everybody's
that
talking about
is
everybody's talking about the power couple.
mhm,
But how can you be a power couple if one or neither of you have any power?
right. Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about we were talking about that. That's one of the things that we talk about in terms of. I was talking about my aunt Loretta, who when she finished with her, she got a master's degree, and then she worked while her husband at the time went to medical school. To make
Mm-hmm.
a long story short, once he went to medical school, uh, he started an affair with his secretary, and they divorced.
Mm.
So my thing was, I always said I would have a fit if any of my daughters worked while any man went to finish his education. They said, "Well, why is that?"
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a time in a man's life where he's got to be preparing himself for life.
Mm-hmm.
And if he hasn't used his time, like you've got to go to medical school when we're married, you didn't use your time properly because you we leave high school at 18, 19, 20. You know what I'm saying? You've got 10, 15, 20 years to go to medical school, and my daughter's got to work while you go to medical school. I said, no. If you want to go to medical school, let's just hold the marriage off. You go
Yes.
through medical school, do what you got to do. When y'all come together, you come together with everything on the table. She's not holding it down while you go through medical school. That just ain't going to
Mm-hmm.
happen. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because those are the two things that I share with a woman Her hero in her first hero in her life is her job, what she's accomplished. That takes up her
Mhm.
time. That's where
Mhm.
she's that's where she's putting her energy into her career. That's her first hero. With the
Mhm.
man, that's his first order of business, is his job, his career, his business. That's the first order of business. Okay.
Mhm.
And his job is to remove and says, listen, I know your career has been your hero, but I would now like to be your
Mhm.
hero. So you see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? See, but she has to have this in place, and this is what he needs to be seeking
Mhm.
to move into that space. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Doesn't take
Mhm.
away all she's accomplished. It's just saying, I want to move into there, and I want you to lean on me.
Right. I agree
Okay.
with that.
See what I'm
I agree
saying?
with that.
Lean on me. He's moving up to the hero spot because she's always got to have the hero. That's why I always ask the woman, what are you doing with your life? See, before we go into relationships and all those things, what are you doing with your life personally?
Mhm.
Then we move you into that man, because here's the thing: what are you missing
Mhm.
that you're going to look for him, that you're going to look for from him, that he cannot give you?
Mhm.
See,
Mhm.
see, if you haven't laid the foundation for yourself, you're going to look for something from him
Right.
that he's not capable of delivering.
Absolutely. That's so true.
Okay, not capable. So those are the key. Those are the key components that we really have to understand when we start talking about changing the narrative. When we change the narrative, we understand we've got attraction, we've got transaction, and then we've got interaction. My goal is to make sure women are empowered to withstand the interaction before we move into the relationship, because
Mhm.
it's not a relationship
Right.
until he cares.
Exactly. That's so true. That's powerful.
Okay.
That's powerful. It's not a relationship until he cares.
Until he cares.
And he's
See,
going to show you whether he cares or not.
you see that's the transaction. That's the
Mhm.
interaction. See, we get through the transaction. What's your name? Oh, you so cute. What's your number? All those things. That transaction. But the interaction is, are you able to stand strong in the interaction? It may
Mhm.
not go, it may not develop into the relationship,
Mhm.
but you
Exactly.
were able you was able to stand strong in the interaction. You're not heartbroken, you're not distraught, because you understand, baby, this is just an interaction. I went on the dating websites to get an introduction. We ain't even date. You're not really dating until you move over into the relationship, because now
Mhm.
you're interacting and dating someone that cares. In the interaction, he doesn't even care just yet, and
Right.
not that he has to.
Right.
We You just another woman, he just another man. We just busting it up.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? You don't
Mhm.
owe me nothing, I don't owe you nothing.
Mhm.
But now, when we move into relationship, now we're talking about two people in a ship
Mhm.
relating.
Mhm.
Okay, relating to
Mhm.
each other. Okay, and those are the foundation. That is the foundation for a successful relationship. Okay, and
Mhm.
you'll always hear Dr. Love's lingo is: create and enter a successful, fun-loving relationship.
Mhm.
Okay, it's created. Okay,
And I have to we are
well over
past the
the
half
hour.
hour mark. But that's fine. Because this is some good conversation. We're gonna go to a quick break and we are gonna come back.
From one-on-one executive coaching to our business building concierge service, Venture Ready helps entrepreneurs, startup executives, and business owners build, scale, and run their businesses using techniques that support stability and long-term growth. Through the Career GPS radio show and High Tea with Me TV program, we promote smart business strategies for the real world. Then, in our one-on-one coaching programs, we help entrepreneurs go beyond the vision board to realize their big vision into a tangible business with a promising future. If you're waiting to feel legit, here's the thing: you have to legitimize yourself. It's time to stop treating your business like a hobby. Get real, it's your career. So let me ask you, are you venture ready?
All right. So if you need help with your executive level career, that's director on hire, or if you are a small business and you're looking for startup, or if you are seasoned and you have gaps and you're trying to grow and you need help, are you venture ready? If not, reach out to us. We are back. We are back. We are back. One of the things that I thought about on the break is when you were talking about you're on a ship and you're relating. But in order for that ship to either sail or it's going to sink, it is going to take both parties to make sure that they are navigating that ship and taking care of that ship in a proper fashion. So back to Dr. Love.
Hmm. Such a great point that you made there, because that's the whole thing of it. When it comes down to love and relationships, we have to change the narrative, because there's so much being done and said under the banner of toxic relationship,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, abusive relationships,
Mhm.
and I would go as far as to say there are couples that have come together, been together for years,
Mhm.
and even married, but it never developed into a relationship. You've
Mhm.
got, when you hear, there's a segment that I do, every girl has a story, and it's different, and yet it's the same.
Mhm.
Okay. So you're going to find similarities when you start hearing the stories of what women have gone through. That's the number one story. He said what? He did what? You be like, say what? I mean, just some of the things that you would hear. I'm going to conclude it could not be a relationship. When you hear some of the things, I mean, honey, I mean, whoo, some of the nightmares. And you
Nightmares,
wanted to,
yes.
and I think we used the reason I want to kind of like go into that topic just a little bit, because I want to start putting emphasis on starting to say, well, this is not a relationship yet. This is an interaction. See that that's what I really want to drive home, is because when you look at some of the things that has been done in the relationship, we'd have to back down a bit and say this ain't a relationship, or that wasn't a relationship. Okay, that that for him to do that, or for her to do that, because women have done some things as well. For him to have done that, or for her to have done that, you didn't even consider my well-being.
Mhm.
You didn't consider my safety. You
Mhm.
didn't consider my feelings.
Mhm.
You didn't consider the child that we have together.
Mhm.
You see, so if you didn't consider all those things, and I'm going to say, and it was a bad or toxic relationship, that lends itself to saying relationships took on this turn, when we really should back down and start saying, we've been in some interactions that never became a relationship. He never really cared.
Well, here's the thing too. When it comes down to it, it's how can I word this properly? Um, both men
And
and women need to realize what a relationship is. I feel like you have a lot of people that go into relationships
Mm-hmm.
and they don't know what a relationship truly is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that's where you get into the toxic relationship. Um, I'm choosing my words correctly because you'll have therapists and psychologists and stuff like that and say that it is a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, even if you're in the interaction stage,
Mm-hmm.
because like you said, relationship is relating to one another.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, especially if it's like a marriage or they're living with each other or whatever. So I want to be careful with that because I don't want to get us in trouble
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to that. But I do agree with the interaction within the confines of those are unhealthy, dangerous. Um, Someone once told me, and I was like, it made a lot of sense, is that sometimes people come into the relationships with these masks on. Both male and female together in the relationship, a male or a female in the relationship, depending on what they want. No one can wear that mask forever. Some of them have worn it for 20, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then you wake up one day and it's like, who is this person? Who did I actually marry? Because sometimes people will put on a show for whatever reason. Maybe they think, oh, you make them look good outside. Maybe they think, oh, um, he has money or she has money. And then something happens. Money's no longer there. Maybe the woman's not as beautiful. You have babies, so body changes, or God forbid, an accident or whatever. Something changes in that relationship, or that person just couldn't act anymore. Um, so I feel like it's interactions in the beginning, but it's also interactions during that actual relationship too. And
Mm-hmm.
those interactions can change.
Mm-hmm.
I always do tell people I always have a issue with in love. Because if you can be in love, you can be out of love. The Bible talks about love and what love is. It never says, I searched it, never says anything about being in love. But what it said is, do not awaken love until it satisfies.
Mm-hmm.
So people come in and they're in love. But what were you in love with? Were you in love with that person? Or were you in love with that money? Were you in love with that body? And it's going to show forth what you were in love with or what you cared about
Mm-hmm.
when it came to that person. Because if people say, oh, I cared, well, what did you care about? Did you care about that person? Or did you care about what you were getting from that person?
Mm-hmm. And see, that's the reason I'm willing to stay out on the limb with interaction, because when we say what is love, love is a personality. Okay, love is a personality, and when we say we're entering into a relationship, I'm entering into him. I'm going into this because I love the personality that he has taken on, caring. I love the personality that exudes out of her. See, it's a personality that strikes and produces a behavior. Okay. See, when we start talking about the mask and how we're acting and all those things, see, when we go into love, it says love endures all. Okay. It withstands all. Love cannot be fooled. You can't pull the wool over when we talk about the virtuous woman or the blessed man. You can't pull the wool over no one's eyes. Okay, and that's why when we start talking about when we come down to the interaction, in that interaction, you want to begin to start identifying, does he know who he is? See,
Mm-hmm.
you may be falling in love with someone and he don't even know who he is
That's so true.
or
That
what
is
he's
so true.
capable of. Okay, she may not even know who she is. and what she's capable of. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
See, so that's why the interaction is the most powerful part of the relationship because it's the foundation that you build on. In the interaction is when we laid everything on the table, we begin to get through some things together. And then once you come to the other side, once you come out of the interaction into the relationship, now you're creating.
Mm-hmm.
See, so that's the reason I'm willing to stay in that interaction because once we cross into relationship, okay, now we're talking about two people. I mean, I may not give you my last $200, but at least I care. You see, I'm not willing to just say anything to you and hurt your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I'm mind. I'm mindful. If I'm dating three other girls in addition to you, I'm mindful to let you know I'm not exclusive with you.
Mm-hmm.
You happen to be another young lady that I'm talking with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is not a relationship. See, these are the things that we've got to begin to understand. The interaction is the power. That's the power center. That's the power point because everything. Either you're going. You said it best, Miss Katrina. Once we get into that ship, it's either going to sink or it's going to swim. It's either going to
It's
sink
gonna
or
float.
sail. That's right.
Right.
Sink or sail, either one. Okay. If it
Mm-hmm.
sails, if it sails, it's going to be because in the interaction we got some things laid down and some concepts nailed down and some expectations underlined and some requirements in play. That was the interaction. You see what I'm saying? See,
Mm-hmm.
all of this, that terminology, and I don't use this a lot when I'm talking in public. But people that say I fell in love, well, I say anything you fall into, you could get hurt.
I know that's
Okay,
right.
all right. So we don't fall in love; we decide to love.
Mm-hmm.
See, we decide to love. Now, see, which is that's changing the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
We decide. I didn't fall in love with her. During the interaction, she moved me so. He moved
Mm-hmm.
me so. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
What moved me? It really wasn't him. It was the personality that he took on. See, that's the
Mm-hmm.
transformation. It was the personality that he took on
Mm-hmm.
that began to transform the interaction into relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so that's the reason we're not going to have in Doctor Love's new blueprint. We're not going to have so many people going upstream talking about we're in this relationship and it's so bad because we're not going upstream in no relationship. We're starting to say, hey, come on back.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do some more. Let's do some more interacting. Let's do some more transacting. All right.
Let's go
Let
back to the
let.
dock.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? That's a good one, Miss Katrina. Let's go back to the dock. So I can either walk home or call me a what is it? What is that?
Uber.
What is a Uber? Yeah. I could walk home or call me an Uber. Let's go back to the dock. 'Cause if we go out in this ship and the water gets turbulent, honey,
I'm gonna
somebody
have
could
to
end up in the
swim.
water.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to swim to the dock. Let's just go to the dock so I can be dry when I go over here.
Miss Katrina, let's go there, and I know our time is up. Let's go here with this. My wife looks at this show. I come in sometime Friday night. I looked at this show. I don't know what it's called. If I took time, I could think about it. But it's one of these shows where it's always a husband and wife, and they went out snorkeling or doing something, and then he come back talking about she didn't make it. You know what I'm saying? You see, you understand what I'm saying? It was what happened. We were down in the sea. I looked around. I couldn't find her nowhere. And I said, oh, Lord, give me a break. It's always she didn't make it.
I don't trust that. I don't trust that. I don't trust
You
it.
understand what I'm saying? That's why you suggested let's go back to the deck,
Let's go
to the
back to the
dock. You
dock.
said let's go back to the dock. See that's wisdom. See that's the virtuous woman coming on you. Let's go back to the dock because we was talking about going out on this ship and all this water, honey. And next thing you be telling my family, she didn't make it back. The
Right?
devil is a lie.
The water rough. You talking about let's go out on this boat? Nah, how about we stay here on the dock?
See what I'm saying? That's changing the narrative. So that's what I want to empower women with. I want to empower them with a new dialogue. And the dialogue is let's stand strong in the interaction.
Yes.
Let's be, let's have a powerful interaction. And if the interaction endures and things happen like they need to, the relationship comes automatically
Mm-hmm.
because of the personality
Mm-hmm. Well, this
that
is what
took
I tell
over.
people. And we're gonna wrap up, but this is what I tell people. Love isn't hard. Love is easy. All the other stuff is it was hard. When you try to make things out that's not love, that's hard. Cause like you said, you was like love. You said it was a personality, and that's true. It's like love is a spirit. That's what the Bible says. Love is a spirit, and there are rules to love. And I think if people actually look up the rules of love and you started naming them, then people will have a whole different picture of how to love and if they're being loved.
Hmm.
I've gone to that definition many a times in my life from the time I was young when God first gave it to me.
Hmm.
And that's how when people, because everybody is quick to say, I love you, I love you, I love you.
I love you.
But love is an action. And people that know me will know I am not quick to tell anybody that I love them, but you'll
Hmm.
see it in my actions. And that's
If I
because
love
so
you.
many people told me they love me, but their action says something else. And I was
Mm.
like, they don't really love me. And I promised myself, I said, I might not say I love you to people, but they are going to see it and they are going to feel it in my actions.
Mm. That's good. Love in action.
And that's what we are trying to get you to today is that you have to be able to know what love is. Look it up in the Bible. You can Google it. What love is. Find out what love is because as you start interacting, you will see if this person actually has love or care. Because caring, when you care, there's a little bit of love there already because you
Oh
care
yeah.
and you're showing
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
love. Okay?
Hmm.
So find out what the definition of love truly is and evaluate not just that person but yourself. Are you really loving? Are you really showing forth that love? Because that helps you evolve and it helps you to see. Because if you have love and you are loving and you have that spirit of love, you will be able to see if someone else is loving you.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna let Dr. Love close out, and we're gonna see you again.
Listen, it's always a pleasure. Um, I want you to know that true love is worth finding. And to
Hmm.
all the ladies out there, busy, powerful, executive women, I want you to know that you can have it all. Don't
Yes, you
listen to
can.
no one. Don't listen to just anyone. If you really want to know what's really going on and you want somebody that knows what they're talking about, Ed Johnson, aka Dr. The Real Deal Love. That's Dr. The Real Deal because I give women the real deal. Okay?
Hmm.
That's it. That's important. Angels, I always say get the ring with a little bling before you get into anything. This is Dr. Love saying, I will see you the next time.
Bye bye, everyone.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of High Tea with Me. To be a sponsor or a guest, contact us at info@ventureready.net. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.